So somehow being in academia brings back or echoes my experiences in academia, echo a lot of the experiences I had in Armenia, not just as a woman, maybe as a woman, but also like, for example, this um, concept of damaged goods. So as a woman in Armenia, if your reputation is tarnished, deservedly or undeservedly, you can be cast as damaged goods, and nobody's gonna marry you. In academia, it's not that anybody's gonna marry me, but so I went to Penn State in my first attempt to get a PhD, and I got fired in a year, and I tried everything I could to. I think I did. I tried. What I mean by that, I approached every single other supervisor. It was a messy situation. Anyway, I wasn't successful to continue there, and I failed my first PhD. Um, and when I had this kind of label on me for any other future academic aspiration as trying to, to have this failure on my CV. And you want to say that, oh, people understand that things can go wrong, but academia, in my experience, is very unforgiving if you fail. It is very unforgiving, and people, even when I applied second time to PhD programs, people have told me things like, "Oh, you failed once. We think you are not going to." They didn't ask any details or anything. They just besides it, because I had this failed mark on my CV or academic record, that I will not be successful in a second. Um, Again, even though I applied, I think 5 or 6 years after a Penn State experience, which, for example, I one of the reasons is maybe failed experience. I went to a non-research undergrad, San Jose State University, and Penn State was a whole different beast. It was a research institution, so things work differently there. And also, I learned, kind of like in Armenia, if you don't have support, you're nobody's nobody. You can. People don't care. I'm not judging anybody. People have their own things, but if you have connections, then you kind of have a little bit more. People cannot disregard you, uh, and you have a little bit more chance to get through if you have connections, support. Um, yeah, a lot of my experiences in academia bring back my to my memory experiences in Armenia growing up, and um, I from the unfairness point of view, unfortunately. So, um, another aspect of um, difficulty is, so I am, how old am I? 38? 38? Um, I'm 8 years old. I have work experience, successful work experience, and it's annoying. Um, like, it's, I have to bite myself and say, Maria, be patient, because I know in industry these kind of behaviors wouldn't go through. So I get annoyed by unprofessional behavior in academia, which affects you, affects your progress, but it goes unchecked. people's behavior goes unchecked, and it has a ripple effect on your progress, on your career. Like if one supervisor is answers timely and cares to give you good advice about how to set up your career, your PhD experience is different versus if you have a supervisor who is never there and you can never reach them. You cannot. They say, oh, you have to, as a PhD student or as a postdoc, as an early career, you have to build yourself, be responsible for your own, but it helps if you have support. It helps. So it is much more difficult if you don't have good support. And uh, for some reason in academia, it's okay. That's why they have all this bullying. People are, it's a hierarchical, right? Again, back to Armenia, is a hierarchical system. So people are afraid to complain, or so some ugliness happens, especially in astronomy. Again, we have sexual harassment, other bullying cases that have been resurfaced, and it's scary. I feel so sad to read these stories. But what it brings to me, I'm 30-year-old, 38-year-old. There's this leaky pipeline, um, what people call leaky pipeline. So maybe I'm almost leaked out. I don't know, from this career. I don't know. We'll see. I'm trying to hold on, but um, because I have work experience in Russia, we have this saying, or gori atuma. I can see the negative, and I'm like, why tolerate it? It's healthier to leave. I don't know. But I'm holding on still. Maybe I'll be forced because I don't get a job. But because I have this work experience, I can see more clearly, based on my experience, how um, the unprofessional behavior. And I also can see kind of 10 steps ahead. And it is sad when I notice younger women, um, also in a PhD, they are so naive in a way, um, that they don't realize that they think, oh, I have a PhD and a supervisor, and he smiled at me, or made a joke, oh, our bodies were doing well. But I see, for example, and I'm now focusing on negative, sorry, but because I'm talking about difficulties, um, they will give a easy project to a woman, um, and then a harder project, or with more computational, modern techniques project kind of to a guy, or give more independence to a guy. And this is from my experience, versus to a woman. And all these little things, do play also into a long-term career. Uh, Often there is also finances involved. People make decisions unfairly because down the line there is some financial gains that they are trying. Like maybe there are a few places for funding, so they try to undermine you early on to push their student forward or something like that. So I can, based on my previous work experience, uh, I can see, and also I already had Penn State experience. I learned a lot about academia at Penn State. I can see patterns, and I can see people's decisions, and I can see also how they affect me. And uh, people might think I'm demanding, but I'm not demanding anything extraordinary. I try to ask for what I think I deserve, or what I think I need to build a career. You know, um, I'm not super successful, as you can see. I didn't get a postdoc, but I do ask. Like if it says there is a career meeting every year, I do ask for that career meeting, and I try to, you know, take steps to build my career, even if it is not supported by other people. And it again brings academia and Armenia, kind of echoing each other. This knowing your place in a negative way, that if you are a woman, you should never try to, we don't want to hear your voice because it's not humble to say anything. You're showing bad behavior, too pompous, too proud. You know, don't uh, promote yourself. That's ugly behavior for a woman. So I I have this echo between academia and Armenia experiences as a woman. So these are difficulties to get through. If you are like people say, what is the reason for leaky pipeline? If during your career you constantly have to battle, uh, negative feedback, lack of support, uh, it, these are add up. It takes away from your energy. Also, funding is very important. In my experience, in my situation, I didn't have consistent funding, and it's a competitive world. So if somebody had consistent funding, uh, they were able to focus on their research. Um, I didn't, so I had to put some of my time into a lot of my time into funding applications. It was only in my first year of PhD I got independent grant. I got some grants from my supervisor. I'm also grateful, but I constantly had to apply. It was like short-term grants. It takes a lot of work, um, so it takes. Then you have to compete with somebody who didn't. Of course, different people, men, women, different people have difficulties. So um, I'm not alone, but I'm just saying some difficulties. And then the other part of being a 38-year-old woman, um, I, um, I have a family now, so I cannot work weekends and make up work on a weekend or at night or anything like that. I have worries. Postdoc. What if I get a postdoc? It's not so easy because it has to be good for my family. I have this extra responsibility to. I'm just telling you things that I struggle with and my difficulties, my challenges. I think it's good to identify the problem, spell it out. It has to have good school. If it doesn't work out, like at Penn State, it didn't work out once, right? If it doesn't work out again and suddenly I have no salary, uh, suddenly I'm fired and we have to go somewhere else, I worry about that. I worry about I'm not a mind reader. It's a very limited exposure. You cannot predict the future. Even if, let's say, you're trying to understand is this a good person to work with or not. Yeah, it's a hard question. It's kind of a risk, and I, sometimes you don't have a choice. So what to do? Like when I was doing my second PhD, yeah, I was very careful how how I was talking. I right away, when I started my PhD, I knew I needed support, and I had nobody. I didn't have anybody. I know there anything. I asked uh, one person to be my mentor. Thankfully, they agreed, and many times I knocked on their door. They didn't owe me anything. I didn't give them anything. I didn't bring funding to them, but they were gracious enough to many times throughout the year to listen to me. And I even, because people's egos are so fragile in academia. I, you know, and your kind of fate hangs on their good graces. It's hard to argue as um, many people leave for a reason when it's a comfortable situation or a bad situation. So it's difficult. It's better to avoid that situation. So I was in a foreign country, right? Foreign for me, Finland versus US, how people talk, how people bring problems. So I even would ask, is it okay to say in these words this problem, am I, because I didn't want to offend. It's kind of like walking on eggshells. I don't know. Maybe it's not the right approach, but I didn't want to fail again a PhD, and so I was extra careful. So I did get the PhD, so that is a good thing. Uh, Now we're trying to get the postdoc uh, next experience. So these are like some challenges, some difficulties that comes through my mind, and I have to conquer them to continue. So I'm 30 years old. I have family, and um, just just when you are older, you have less tolerance for bullshit. And I've seen, for that reason, that many adult learners give up and they leave to a more like 9 to 5 situation, so they don't have to deal with the bullshit. Will I be able to survive? I don't know. I will try. I will try my best. But I can feel it. I can feel that my tolerance for uh, unnecessary um, difficulties, I would say, to use normal words, is lower. I have to kind of coach myself to hang in there despite. Did I? Another difficulty is that sacrifices. I made a lot of. I have to face it. I have many years of sacrifices. I worked through my master's. It took me 5 years, and then 7 years PhD. I mean, that's more than a decade of studies. So maybe I'm like those people say, I didn't. Some of uh, many of my close relatives are much more successful. They did, some degree in a practical field and have a good source of income, and maybe I made the wrong career choice. But it's hard after more than 10 years of um, pursuing astronomy to say that okay, it's the end, because I don't have this next funding. And I mean, postdoc, God, it's so easy for, it's not like I'm trying to earn gold medal in Olympic gold medal in ice skating, or there are many postdocs, really is an easy thing to do for God, an easy thing to do for a human being. Somehow I'm not getting it. So it's difficult to accept that after so many years of sacrifices, we moved across the ocean, lived in a different country, and I took 7 years for a PhD, and I don't get a postdoc after it. Yeah, but it is a reality. All my past failures, right? So years thinking of sacrifices, thinking of years, thinking of past failures come and haunt me, that, you know, I didn't achieve this or that, I didn't get this funding, that funding before PhD, during PhD, so maybe it means I'm not good enough to be um, just questioning my worth. is it that during my PhD I didn't acquire enough skills? They are not relevant. They are not marketable. Uh, 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 Thinking that I'm alone. I'm not alone. I mean, I have my husband. Some people don't have anyone else. I don't. Uh, but yeah, feeling lack of support. So these things I have to overcome. And how are we gonna do this? So on this, maybe we will write. Actually, let's write out fears first. Fears, anxieties, and then we'll write somewhere solutions. So fears, I'm not gonna write all of them, but I'll try to verbalize most of them. Maybe five. Let's see. What is a fear? That it's not working. Right. Pink Alices. So fear. What is my fear? It worries, or maybe my fear is that um, dream. None of my pens are writing now. I want to get a postdoc. Uh, I'm not smart enough, or I won't be able to overcome, age, these battles of the mind. I don't know that somehow uh, my worth is diminishing because um, no funding. So of course I can continue applying, but I don't have research progress if I have another job. So in this competitive world, I want to be able to compete. Competition impossible, because other people who do get a postdoc, they continue producing output, research output, but I don't. I'm damaged goods because people would say, well, you didn't get your postdoc now, no postdoc after PhD, something is wrong with you. No, I chased empty dream. Sacrificed for nothings. For nothing. Alright, so postdoc, solutions. Solutions. Okay, I like astronomy, and it means I'm leading my own postdoc financing my own postdoc because I'll never, even if I don't get a funded postdoc, I mean, I didn't get a funded postdoc, I'm not gonna stop doing research. So I will be doing some small research, some fraction of time. I'll be doing research and I'll be it means that I will be leading it. And based on my interests, I won't have institutional support or anything like that. So, it will be small, but probably creative. Creative because of necessity. So nobody can prevent me to do research in general, but I will have a smaller percentage of time because I'm working. So even if I don't get a postdoc, and I didn't get a postdoc, I can continue research. So I have a PhD. It's a little more difficult, but maybe I'll have some growing pains, and I need to grow in confidence that I can do it. But yeah, I have already, as a PI, successful research project and data, and I had some ideas for other research, but I just don't have funding, and to go forward. But I'll just be slowly taking steps to move this forward, do publications, and so it's not exactly death of a dream, because the dream is a bit bigger than a postdoc. But let's also use God's word, whatever I remember, to to overcome the fears and worries. So if I don't get a postdoc, God is my provider, and He said God has good plans for me. So just have peace with I have peace with that and confidence that the plans are good. Of course, it is sad for me if it's not astronomy, but I guess I'll be happy. God has good plans for me. I'm not smart enough. I think I have dealt with it throughout the years. I'm not trying to be the smartest person or the best person in astronomy. That's not my goal, and I have interest in astronomy. I like it. So for me, I have the right to pursue astronomy, even if I'm not the super smartest. So that doesn't, I try my best and to solve problems and address research question, and I would like to continuously learn, right? To learn from others, learn new techniques. If I don't need to be super smart to do astronomy, I think if I have interest and I'm not as smart, let's say it's correct, I'm not so smart, so what? I just still pursue my interest. I mean, if only the best people would be doing things, not so many people would do these things. It gives me happiness. I like it. If why do people play piano if they don't? If they're not the best, it's like the Mozart and Salieri, or a little bit. Mozart was so good and great. Salieri should have enjoyed his. Okay, I don't want to criticize other people. I celebrate people who are super smart, and I've seen and met throughout years of studying very smart people. But I have interest and those questions that interest me, I'll just do my best to uh, do that research. I want to be able to overcome age, battles of the mind, you know, other things like, I don't know, to overcome age, battles of the mind. That I leave to God. God will make a way. I don't know what else to say. God will help me. You know, that really doesn't matter, and I'm gonna go forward even though I have these fears, even though I have criticisms perceived on my own or real criticisms for other people. I'm gonna go forward. Uh, my worth is diminishing, no funding, research progress. It's gonna be impossible to compete. You know, I'm gonna celebrate small steps, appreciate them, you know, and trust God again because it's outside of my control. If I don't get, I tried and do my best again. Damaged goods because I didn't get a postdoc. Um, of course, career doesn't equal me, and also one failure doesn't mean career is over. And if people think that way, that's I know it's competitive. They can think that way. I will still continue working despite the fact that some people in academia or a lot of the time academia is not forgiving. I will just do my best. And again, they say trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will make your path straight. So these are my thoughts. As I said, people say women can't sing. Here, but if you have some suggestions, I didn't lose my hope. I have hope. And thank you, God, again for this opportunity to, spell out when I write down these fears. They seem less intimidating. They seem actually ridiculous. So thank you that you refreshed my soul, and thank you for all of the encouragement and people who have uttered that encouragement. And thank you for your Bible. That is a living world that encourages our soul to get me through this. And I hope this is helpful to somebody. I always admired people how, again, for example, my NASA mentor, she told me some stories from her life, and I really was impressed how she could come up with solutions that nobody told her. It was from her. So I love learning how people in their journey solved problems, how they thought, how they encouraged themselves, and um, it is a lot of fun to be on this life journey with God. And of course, Jesus is the most important thing. So this is nothing. This is nothing. It's just the exercise of the thought in problem solving and trying to persevere and not fall into the leaky pipeline if possible. Statistics are against me, but God is above statistics. So, bless you all.